You're with Wayne and Jess, joined now by Despina Priala of Priala Legal. Now, we're always looking at innovative ways of how we can have our pets in our homes, perhaps apartments, and this is a first of its kind in Queensland, not just the Gold Coast, Despina.
It is, and it's called The Spot.
How exciting!
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, The Spot is a unique pet-friendly apartment that's recently been completed, and it's situated on the Gold Coast in Broadbeach Mermaid Waters, and Condev built that one, and it was on the news last week, and I actually talked about this particular project last year as it was being constructed, because it is unique, and it's unique in the way that it actually has a rooftop dog park.
Now, I think I've seen this one. It's on the highway, Gold Coast Highway, and it's got all the Dalmatian spots.
Yes.
But who would have thought upstairs you can actually have your dog roam around?
Exactly. And I think it's really, really good. It's unique because people are finding it more difficult to find pet-friendly apartments. And, you know, it depends on what's in the bylaws and also depends on the harmony of the building. And even if pets are allowed, and you really can't have a complete ban on pets anyway in apartments.
Not everyone wants them.
Not everybody wants them, and they'll complain and, you know, why do we have dogs in the building? This is truly designed to be a pet-friendly apartment. And how it was reported is all the units were sold out, as you can imagine. Every second owner has a dog, so there's an abundance of pets in that building. And the owners who actually built the project were dog lovers, and they actually have Dalmatians, hence The Spot, perhaps the name, and they wanted to create something unique where people can truly feel comfortable in living in an apartment where there's a dog park on the roof.
Well, this is something you've talked about on the program numerous times over recent months to do with, bylaws in general, but bylaws about pets in particular. So to have something that is specifically for pets, built especially for pets, the owners, of course, will we see more of this, perhaps?
I think we will, and certainly with bylaws, I've talked about the Court of Appeal decisions in the past where you just cannot have a blanket ban now on you know, there's no pets allowed in the building. You just can't do that. But what a lot of people don't realise is when they buy into a building, they buy a unit, they need to look at the bylaws because some of these buildings that are built a bit older actually still contain this type of ban, right? Particularly in New South Wales, in the bylaw, and it hasn't been changed by the committee or the body corporate at all. So you're buying a unit, you're going into a building and you don't know that there currently is a prohibition on pets and you're bringing a pet in and you're going to have problems with the body corporate and committee. So why would you have problems? Because of the Court of Appeal decision? Well, because the body corporate and the committee, they haven't changed the bylaw over to allowing pets on a particular basis or conditions or qualifications. It's just a complete ban. And you need to be aware of that when you're looking at buying units, Queensland and New South Wales, but particularly New South Wales.
And unlike The Spot, where you would have that shared interest with neighbours loving the fact you had a dog, there'll be people that are resistant in certain blocks.
Yeah.
And so if it is written in, can you actually negotiate that I actually oppose this and I would love to bring my dog in, even if everyone's up in arms and voting against you in the body court meeting?
Yes, you can. So if you have a bylaw, if you're going into a building and you're buying a unit and you need to look at the bylaws, so first and foremost, so you need to have a lawyer who understands property and body corporate matters. They don't all understand it. So when you do buy a unit, particularly in Queensland or even in New South Wales, you need to have that solicitor order all of the right searches. So we're talking about body corporate record search and a copy of the bylaws and the community management statement to understand what is in the bylaws. If you find something that's offensive in the bylaws or you find that it may not be accurate or could be incorrect or invalid, and your solicitor should alert you to that in either New South Wales or Queensland, you need to be aware of it before you actually settle on your unit. And that can go for a number of other issues, such as having items on the balcony, such as spas, which has been a contentious issue in New South Wales. There's been some cases of that recently. So what I'm getting at is when you go into a body corporate situation, you need to get specialised advice about what am I getting into. It's a community-based building, it's a community living arrangements. There are bylaws you have to comply with. What are those bylaws? You need to obtain them. Your lawyer needs to know to look for certain things in the bylaws and to advise you and say, here's a copy of the bylaws, have a look. if there's anything that jumps out at you that you don't like, you need to alert your solicitor to it and have that discussion with them, perhaps before you go unconditional on your contract.
Yep. You talk about getting proper advice before you buy a unit. So there is obviously such a thing as bad advice. How do you know the difference? How can you tell?
Well,
How long is a piece of string?
exactly, a lot of ways to tell.
Yeah.
The first thing I think is if you have a solicitor or a particular firm that doesn't want to review your contract before you sign, that's a red flag to me. Why wouldn't you?
Yep.
Because the whole idea is, and we talk about prevention is better than the cure, before you sign a contract, you have to have someone look at it before you sign. Once you sign and then it's submitted to the other side and you're bound by that, it's very difficult to start varying terms in the contract. And the other side don't have to agree to any variations. So you're pretty much stuck with what you've already signed. So send it to the solicitor, and if the solicitor has a good look at it and gives you a lot of different, comments and advice. I mean, it's difficult to comment on that, but how do you know? Well, your solicitor first and foremost should say, let me look at the contract before you sign it, so that I can advise you properly before you sign.
And if you have every intention of having a pet as part of the family, I guess you don't want a pet ban in there.
Well, that's exactly right. But another thing to ask your lawyer is, do you understand body corporates? Do you understand how community title schemes work, strata schemes work? Do you understand bylaws? Ask them the questions.
Yeah.
Because some property lawyers don't ever deal with body corporate matters whatsoever. You'd be surprised. So they don't actually understand how it works and what searches to order.
And that makes sense because, of course, there are specialisations in pretty much every industry. So you can't know everything about everything.
Well, yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's right. And we're not expected to. And we have areas that we do deal with. But property canvasses a range of different types of matters. You've got commercial matters, industrial matters, residential matters, vacant land, houses, dwellings, body corporates. And interestingly enough, body corporates can actually mean houses on estates that are separated but are still within a body corporate, as opposed to units in a building which blatantly appear, yes, there's a body corporate. But sometimes you might be buying a house on acreage and that's actually a body corporate estate. And you may not, and you may not be aware of it. And those are the things that you need a good solicitor to identify immediately when they get the contract and advise you accordingly.
Because that's not often on the ad, is it? When you're scouring through to try and work out where you want to live.
Exactly right. And the realestate.com ads, sometimes they're correct, sometimes they're not. And you need to get proper advice about what you intend to buy and what you're expecting.
And like my mate's son, who's 5, said, can we get a hot tub? Well, that'll need approval too.
Yeah, we need to check that first.
Oh, 100%, yes.
We don't know where he got the hot tub from, but,
Saw it on an ad or something, on Facebook or something. Yeah.
So you are obviously on top of all of this. People can come and see you at Cockle Shell.
Yes, they can. They can call the office. We're at Runaway Bay, 55 291 294. They can call us, have a chat. And we do, in terms of property, there are obvious things that we do that other people don't. We go on Google. We have a look at the property. We look at the aerial view. We go on realestate.com. We have a look at the pictures. We want to see if there's anything on the property, like a shed or something that the client, may not be aware that we need to look into approvals, patios, verandas. There's a whole range of things we do. We go onto council websites. These are all free searches. And we have a good look at the property before we even call the client. So a lot of people don't do that. So we want to know what the person is buying, because we don't go and look on site. They do. So we want to see and identify exactly what they might be buying, so we can ask them the right questions.
Priala Legal, you can find them online, prialalegal.com.au. Otherwise, as I say, at your law firm boutique, one in Runaway Bay at 49 Cockle Shell Court.
Yes, that's right.